Here we are again. I'm Omari Akil, and you're watching episode 4 of The Breakdown. This is a show all about how designers make games and what inspires those designs. Right now, we're checking out Enchanters East Quest, the latest expansion in the Enchanters series, designed by Rafal Cywicki and published by Gindie Games. In this light fantasy card drafting game, you're going to need to craft magical items to try to help you defend a village from the surrounding kingdoms. But, let's be real, you're only in it for the glory. Let's take a look at how the game works first. Now, we can't really talk about the expansion without going over the base game first. Enchanters is all about drafting cards that combine to create magical artifacts that will eventually make you strong enough to take down powerful invaders of the village. You'll be gaining and losing glory along the way, and the person who ends the game with the most glory is the winner. Depending on which expansions you have, you can add in modular variants and components that could either make the game easier, harder, more complex, shorten the playtime, or convert the game to a fully co-op game. It's a card drafting game, so Enchanters primarily includes a collection of card decks. Now, most of these represent the invading kingdoms. Those kingdoms include goblins, fairies, mermaids, dark elves, angels, barbarians, and more. East Quest is bringing in ninjas, monks, nagas, pirates, and a couple others. There are also card decks for the add-on mechanics, including events, wounds, banners, classes, and overlords. There's also a gameplay mat to keep the main components of the game organized, and to hold all the tokens, including the in-game currency for the game, the wounds that'll be taken by players during combat, and a few others for some of the modular components of the game. Okay, I think it's time to move on to the mechanics. Now, the game begins by each player getting a few crystals, and then selecting a kingdom. Now, once all the kingdoms are selected, they're shuffled together to create the adventure deck. Rafal told me that one of the inspirations for the kingdoms and how they come together was Smash Up. Smash Up was one of the original games to include this method of taking multiple distinct decks and shuffling them all together to create something even more unique. The same thing happens in Enchanters, except instead of each player building their own deck, they're all combining their kingdoms into one deck that includes enchantments, items, monsters, and dragons that they all have access to once those are revealed. Once the adventure deck is created, 6 cards are placed onto the journey track, then a village is selected randomly from a set of village cards. At that point, you're ready to play. Rafal mentioned that one of his ideas behind Enchanters is that he wanted to create a big world through a wide variety of villages and kingdoms, but at the same time, the game would still be easy to set up and play pretty quickly. Turns are mechanically pretty simple as well. You basically have 2 options to choose from. The first is to journey, which basically means to use the in-game currency to get a card from the journey track. The second option is to rest. That just means you're using a rest action, typically shown on the village cards, in order to get something that's going to help you progress through the game. A look at the journey track will feel familiar to most experienced gamers. We see card and tile drafting tracks like this in a lot of different games, including Clank or Suburbia. But the one Rafal felt most connected to was actually 8-Minute Empire. In 8-Minute Empire, each space on the track has a cost associated with it, and each card that you buy becomes a part of your collection. The journey track works very similarly in Enchanters. I do want to note that Enchanters is in no way a simple game. The complexity actually comes from the way the cards are combined to create magical artifacts and how they interact with each other. Now, each player has an item stack and an enchantment stack. Every item that you buy will stack on top of your previous item, leaving the bottom portion visible, but covering up its primary effect and any bonuses that were on top of that card. It's clear that Rafal was very intentional about designing a card layout that was multifaceted. And this means that every card that you get and play is going to be meaningful in more than one way. Invaders are also engaged by buying them from the journey track, but you need to have built up the attack value using artifacts and abilities that's equal or greater than the amount of health that that monster or dragon has. Defeated monsters use the same stacking mechanic as items and enchantments, which makes the game feel very streamlined since you aren't having to remember a different set of rules for a different type of card. Even though Enchanters East Quest offers up some new functions and features as compared to the rest of the game, Rafal was pretty clear that he didn't want anything to take away too much from the simplicity of the gameplay. The quest mechanic, for example, was added to function similarly to an achievement award type system that we see in a lot of digital games, providing a quick one-time bonus for hitting a specific objective. But he was also particularly proud of some of the new card interactions built into East Quest Geisha Kingdom. This will be the first time where magical artifacts can be used to interrupt some of the immediate card effects that are present in a lot of cards in the game. This was a place where he noticed a gap in gameplay, where these effects were pretty much immune to all other mechanics up to this point in the game's design, and this expansion was an opportunity to explore that. And East Quest has been something that's been planned for a while, but Rafal looked to the Enchanters gaming community to help him decide which expansions to release and when. Overlords came first because the mechanics of the Overlord and Wound decks were both created based on feedback from the community about the base game. Then Odyssey and East Quest were actually put up to a vote by the community, and Odyssey was chosen for the second expansion. If you're interested in Enchanters or the Enchanters East Quest expansion, the Kickstarter is live right now. Check the video description for the link. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Omari Akil. You just watched the breakdown of Enchanters East Quest, brought to you by Tabletop Backer Party. See you soon.